Okay, good morning. This is Math 1, Unit 9.3 worksheet, area of trapezoids and kites and rhombi. Identify the polygon as a trapezoid, kite, or rhombus. Write the area formula and then find the area. Okay, so you remember that a trapezoid has one set of parallel sides, and the formula is, so this is a trapezoid, all right here. And the formula to find the area of a trapezoid is area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Remember, 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 gives us the average of the bases, which creates a rectangle that we multiply times the height. So let's plug in the information. We have area equals 1/2 base 1 is 21 and base 2 is 15. Remember, it doesn't matter which one is base 1, base 2, and the height is 12. Okay, so that means area equals 1/2 21/36 times 12. Half of 36 is 18, so it's 18 times 12. And you can get your calculator out here, and you get 216. And that would be meters squared. Remember, two-dimensional figures, meters squared. Okay, moving on to number 3. This is a trapezoid as well. Same area formula, obviously. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay, and we have area equals 1/2 6 plus 14 times 5.5. So 6 plus 14 is 20, half of 20 is 10, and 10 times 5.5 is 55, and this is inches squared. Moving on. Again, this is a trapezoid. It looks like a square with a rectangle, which it is, but it has one set of parallel sides. Okay, these two sides are not parallel. These two are because of the 90-degree angles, which means it is a trapezoid. All right. As you know, I like you to write down the formula every time. It just gets you in the habit of writing it and helps you memorize it. So area equals 1/2. Base 1 is, well, it's the same length as this, so it's 15. And base 2 is 15 plus 8, or 23. And the height, we don't have that yet, do we? This is not the height. Remember, height is always perpendicular to the base. So it's got to be right here. What do we know? We know this is a right triangle, though, don't we? These are the legs of the right triangle, and this is the hypotenuse. So we can say that the height, 8 squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared, which means 8 squared plus 64 equals 289. Subtract 64 from both sides. We get h squared equals 225. We take the square root of both sides. The square root of h squared is h. The square root of 225 is 15. That is what we call a Pythagorean triple. 8, 15, 17 is a very common Pythagorean triple. So we know our height is 15. Okay, so we get area equals 1/2. 23 plus 15 is 38 times 15. Half of 38 is 19. And 19 times 15, what is that? 24 plus 45, 265. Double check there. 285, excuse me, 285. And this is centimeters cubed. Excuse me, centimeters squared. Two-dimensional figures, the unit squared. Okay, moving on. All right, number 7, we finally have a different thing. This is a kite. Okay, how do we identify a kite? A kite has 2 consecutive sides that are congruent. These 2 sides are congruent, and these 2 sides are congruent. We also know in a kite that these 2 angles will always be congruent, and this diagonal right here is bisected. You can see these 2 sides congruent. All right, so you should remember that in a kite is basically half of the rectangle kite's area is equal to half the rectangle that would be formed by each of its diagonals, okay? And that's why we say the area of a kite, first let's write down it's a kite, area equals 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 would give us the area of this rectangle, but a kite is half this rectangle because we could fold in those 2 sides, and these 2 we'd have to cut them off and turn them 180 degrees, but they would both go there. So in this case, area equals 1/2. Diagonal 1 is 16, and diagonal 2 is 8 plus 14, or 22. So when you multiply those 3 together, half of 16 is 8, and 8 times 22 is 176. And this would be inches squared. Okay, moving on to number 9. All right, again we have a kite. All right. And let's see what we got here. We know the area equals 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, which means area equals 1/2 diagonal 1 is 12, and diagonal 2 is 3 plus 9, or 12. Well, we know 12 times 12 is 144, and half of 144 is 72, so 72 feet squared. All right, number 11. What do we have here? Well, you can see that the slope of both of those are congruent. If the slopes of these 2 lines are congruent, okay, so it basically is rise 2, run 3, rise 2, run 3. They're opposite, okay, but this has a negative 2/3 slope, this has a positive 2/3 slope, but makes these 2 sides congruent. Rise 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, 3, and then fall 1, 2, 3, run 1, 2, 3. So this is a positive 1 slope, and this is a negative 1 slope, so they are congruent, which makes this guy a kite, okay? So area equals 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. And the nice thing is we can just count this. So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so 6 times 5 is 30, and half of 30 is 15 units squared. All right, I'll leave the evens for you. Hope this helps. Good job.